Welcome to the Cheating Wife Stories channel. Everything was out of love. That's what I used to tell myself whenever I looked at her, Jennifer, my wife of 20 years. It was love that brought us together, when we were both too young to know what real devotion meant. It was love that kept me awake at night, planning our future, worrying about the bills, trying to be the man I thought a husband should be. It was love. It had to be. And yet the first image that comes to mind now, when I close my eyes and let the memories flood in, is not a sweet honeymoon kiss or a tender moment in the kitchen. It's her voice, the low pitch of her breath catching in pleasure, and the knowledge that, in that moment, she was feeling what she had once only shown to me. I can practically see the flush creeping across her neck, the arch of her back, the way her lips part with that soft moan she never knew made me weak in the knees. But now, the image is twisted. She's not with me. She's with him. The video my son accidentally filmed. God help me, that is the memory that kicks down the door to every other moment in my life. My son was just messing around with his phone, capturing random snippets of a get-together at the house, not meaning to be a voyeur, not meaning to blow his father's world apart. In the background, she walked through the hallway, speaking to someone in hushed, hurried tones. Then the angle changed. He must have set his phone down on the countertop. Maybe he went to grab a soda or help a friend find the bathroom. Whatever it was, the phone kept rolling. I saw her cross into the living room, her blouse slightly unbuttoned, her breath unsteady. And then I saw him. I heard their whispers before I truly comprehended what was happening. His voice was low, warm, with that casual confidence that implies it was far from the first time he'd spoken to her like that. She murmured something. I couldn't make out the words. Then there was a sound that I had always thought was mine alone. Her sharp intake of breath, like a stifled gasp of pleasure, immediately followed by a more controlled exhale. I watched. I froze. They kissed, and it looked urgent, real, messy in that slow-motion focus that only my mind could apply. My son's phone camera is shaky, half obscured by the edge of the countertop. But you can see enough. You can hear enough. When she pulled away, she looked up toward the hallway as if she heard something. Or maybe she just felt a surge of guilt. She fixed her blouse, smoothed her hair, and they slipped out of the frame. 20 seconds of footage. That was all. It was everything. I didn't confront her immediately. For 2 nights, I barely slept, letting that image carve lines into my brain. Over and over, I saw her parted lips, that flush of color I used to live for. I heard the faint hitch in her breath, her little whimper. It stabbed me like a dull, rusted knife, each replay driving it deeper. 1 week later, Jen changed our real estate agent, claimed she'd found a better professional, someone with more modern marketing. She told me about it over dinner, stirring the pasta on her plate like she couldn't meet my eyes. At the time, I thought it was a trivial note in an endless sea of everyday changes. But deep down, I suspected. The man in the video was Michael Thompson, a local marketing consultant who sometimes partnered with real estate agencies. My guess? She thought if she switched agencies, it would be easier to see him without raising suspicion. She had no idea I already knew. I didn't scream, didn't break furniture, didn't fling accusations. That's not who I am, or at least not who I've become. In my younger days, maybe I would have put my fist through a wall. But at 44, you learn that anger doesn't always release the tension. Sometimes it only multiplies it. Instead, I went quiet. My mother used to say silence can be a weapon, but you must know how to wield it. So I stayed silent, letting the images from that phone haunt me while I kept a steady mask on my face. Then came the DNA test. She asked me to take one, something about updating her family tree, or checking her health ancestry, or some nonsense about a new genealogical service. It's just routine, she said in that tone wives use when they're sure their husbands won't question them. At first, I wasn't suspicious. I mailed my sample because it seemed harmless. But a week into waiting for results, I had a dream. In it, I saw our son's face flicker into that of Michael Thompson. The dream was nonsensical, but it left me shaken. Could it be possible that even my son? The results arrived 3 weeks later. I stared at the paper for 10 minutes. Then I stopped eating for 2 days. The test came with a bizarre level of detail about ancestry, and one line that read, "Paternal match, 0%. The question that burned in my mind. Had she known? Had she asked for this test precisely because she suspected the truth might come out? I experienced a sense of disassociation, like I was hearing the ocean from the bottom of a well. Distant echoes, muffled roars. Nothing felt real except the knowledge that she had stolen something sacred from me, and I'd been oblivious for years. I forced down that anger, compressing it into a tight ball in my chest, because I promised our son, my son, regardless of biology, that I would be calm. I started working on something else, a different kind of vent. I gathered photographs from our life together, spanning 2 decades, our wedding day, the move to Seattle, our son's birthdays, vacations, her real estate achievements, random holiday gatherings. Each picture carried a memory that used to fill me with warmth. Now it was only a dull ache overshadowed by betrayal. I spent hours in the garage with an old lamplight, using sandpaper, black marker, or even a paintbrush to blur her face. I'd scratch or smear or erase. I called the album Wife Without a Face. Each photo ended up warped, her figure intact, but her features lost in a haze of black or gray or swirling streaks. The rest of us, me, our boy, other family members, remained clear, in crisp focus. The effect unsettled me deeply, yet I couldn't stop. It was as if I was controlling the only thing I could, her presence in my memories. Sometimes, the TV would be on in the background. Golf, late-night news, a sitcom rerun. I didn't really watch, but the noise was comforting. It filled the silent space around my anger. The more I worked on the album, the more numb I felt, which, ironically, was a relief. Then I made a few phone calls, old friends, people I'd helped in the past. Favors owed. I never said Jen's name. I'd simply mention I knew someone in real estate who might not be trustworthy. I'd mention deals that fell through under questionable circumstances. Just thought you should know. I'd say, then hang up politely. Within a few weeks, I heard her complaining about how her leads were drying up, how prospective clients suddenly found reasons to go with different agents. She was confused, anxious. Why is nothing working out? She asked me one night after finishing a frustrating phone call in the living room. I don't know, I said, lying so cleanly it terrified me. Maybe the market's shifting. My voice was calm, measured. On the inside, I felt the tightness in my chest coil a little tighter. And yet, I didn't step forward to claim any ultimate revenge right away. After all, I had promised my son I wouldn't do anything to destroy the family. I never wanted him to think I was a madman or a monster. He was going through his own teenage struggles. Why heap more chaos on his shoulders? So I wore my silence like a cloak, watchful, deliberate. At times, I felt ridiculous. Was this manly or cowardly? I wasn't sure, but it was all I could manage. I'd wake in the morning, look at Jen as she groggily rubbed her eyes, and wonder if she was going to see him that day. A swirl of questions would pound behind my eyeballs. Did she think about him before she drifted off to sleep? What was I to her now? A provider? A roommate? Nothing but a fool. It was humiliating. My pride as a man felt eviscerated, yet I refused to confront her in an outburst. I was restraining myself, compressing everything so it wouldn't spill over in front of our boy. Ironically, she started paying more attention to me, almost as if she suspected something was different. She'd come into the living room in her pajamas, settle next to me on the couch, try to nestle under my arm. "You doing okay?" she'd ask. "Work's fine." The guilt must have been nibbling at her, or maybe it was fear that I had found out. I never let on. I'd muster a small smile, pat her shoulder, and say, "Yeah, just a lot on my mind." I wanted her to taste uncertainty. She'd wriggle uncomfortably and eventually wander to bed, leaving me to the hiss of late-night talk shows. A few times, I considered confronting Michael Thompson directly. Drive downtown to his apartment, wait by his building, maybe slam him against a wall. But I always backed away from that thought. Another wave of humiliation rose whenever I pictured physically attacking him. Would it fix anything? No. Jen already gave him what was mine. The damage was irreversible. So instead, I just stand in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at my reflection, noticing new lines under my eyes. A man should not cry, I told myself. But there was pain. Real pain, like a hot iron pressed against my throat. Flashbacks come to me unbidden. I remember the day I met Jen, a sunny college campus courtyard. Her smile so bright, it eclipsed everything else. We courted each other in that naive, headstrong way, convinced love conquers all. I recall our wedding, the cheaply rented church decorated with plastic flowers, our families wearing proud smiles. I remember the day our son was born. My heart nearly burst the first time I held him, believing he was a physical manifestation of our love. That memory, once the most precious of my life, is now tangled in the knowledge that he isn't my biological child. But my love for him never dimmed. He's my boy, my blood or not. That won't change. My father died 3 years ago, a stoic man who rarely showed emotion. When my mother passed first, he never shed a tear where I could see him. Yet there were nights I heard him pacing the hallway, muffled sobs behind the bathroom door. I learned from him that tears are a private business, so I bury mine, letting them brew, forging my anger into a steely quiet. I suspect he would have done the same. I imagine his ghost shaking his head at me, disapproving that I let this happen, that I was so blind. Time drags on. The tension in the house grows thick, like a muggy summer day that refuses to storm. Jen picks fights over trivial matters. Why am I distant? Why am I not eating properly? Why am I so silent? She's grown edgy because she can't close real estate deals. She's started to suspect that her new partnerships and marketing strategies are failing because of some invisible sabotage. I don't get it, she complains, close to tears. I had everything lined up. One moment, they're eager. The next, they ghost me. I shrug. Maybe they found a better agent. The words taste bitter. She doesn't realize how carefully I've orchestrated this slow unraveling. Maybe she senses something but can't prove it. Meanwhile, every so often, I get glimpses, maybe a text message on her phone that she tries to hide, or a flustered expression if she's stepping outside for a work call. She never fully confesses, and I never demand that she does. We're circling each other in a forced pantomime of normalcy. Our son, caught in the middle, tries to keep his head down. He's not a little boy anymore, but a teenager with dreams of going to college, maybe out of state. I want him to have that chance, unaffected by this betrayal. So I keep playing my part. But inside, each day is heavier than the last. An excruciatingly slow bleed. A man can only hold so much inside before it erupts. My father's voice in my head. Find a constructive outlet. So I keep going back to the album. Page after page of pictures. Her face, once proud and confident, now blurred. Sometimes, I spend an hour on just one picture, shading and erasing to ensure no trace of her features remain. It's a twisted therapy session, but it works better than punching walls. I still remember the first time I heard Michael's name from Jen's lips, months before the video fiasco. He's brilliant at brand strategy, she said after a networking event. Has some big clients in downtown Seattle. I recall the faint spark in her eyes, that eager pitch in her voice. At the time, I was proud she had new opportunities. Now, I realized that was the seed. That was the beginning. It had probably blossomed into a full-blown affair before I even suspected anything. I'm sure they had hushed phone calls, stolen lunches, business conferences that provided a perfect excuse for overnight stays. The thought makes me nauseous. Ironically, I run into Michael by chance one afternoon. I'm walking to the coffee shop near my workplace. He's there, leaning against a brick wall outside, tapping away on his phone. My heart hammers. Images of that video slam into me with fresh force. We lock eyes for half a second, each of us registering who the other is. He must know me, Jen's husband, the man who's in the way of their romance. I see the flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. Then he recovers, offers a polite nod. It's that casual arrogance, the same vibe I sensed from that grainy phone footage. The nerve. He seems unbothered. Meanwhile, I'm a nuclear reactor about to melt down. It takes every ounce of restraint not to throttle him right there on the sidewalk. Instead, I return the nod and walk by. My palms are clammy, adrenaline scorching through my veins. I consider turning around, confronting him, but an older woman carrying groceries steps between us, and the moment passes. The tension lingers in my chest for days. That night, I dream about the confrontation we didn't have. In my dream, I do attack him. I pound my fists into his face, yelling obscenities. Jen appears, screaming for me to stop, begging me not to kill him. I wake in a cold sweat, my pillow damp, heart racing. Even in a dream, I can't escape this sense of betrayal. And so, the next day, I double down on my sabotage. I make more discreet calls, send a few carefully worded emails to potential real estate clients. Some have used me for engineering advice on commercial properties. I hint strongly that Jen is unreliable. Word spreads in quiet ripples. I watch as her frustration deepens. Why isn't anything working out, Rick? She pleads one evening, slumping at the kitchen table with her laptop open, frowning at her pipeline of lost clients. She's wearing that sweatshirt she always wore for comfort, the one I once thought looked so cute on her. Now it just reminds me of a time when I believed she was faithful. I don't know, honey, I say softly, turning back to my own papers. My voice is measured, artificially calm. She closes the laptop, tears brimming in her eyes. For a moment, a pang of guilt stirs inside me. I know she's hurting, maybe in ways I don't fully understand. And for a split second, I wonder if the best thing to do would be to set her free, to walk away, let her chase Michael or whoever she wants. But the humiliation is too raw. My pride stings. That night, she tries to initiate intimacy. It stuns me. She slides into bed, wearing a little nightgown she hasn't worn in years, drapes an arm over my chest. "Miss you," she whispers, her breath warm against my neck. My mind swirls with confusion. Does she think sex will fix what's broken? The mere thought of touching her, of tasting her skin, now tarnished by that man's hands, ignites a fury I can barely contain. But I don't lash out. I gently remove her hand and say I'm not feeling well. She turns away, stiff, letting out a shaky sigh. Part of me hates her. Part of me hates myself for the revulsion I feel. Over the next few days, everything in the house becomes a struggle. We have stilted conversations where every word feels measured. She tries again to connect with me, but I keep my distance. Our son, my son, stays in his room more often, emerging only for meals. The tension is thick as tar. A memory surfaces. The day after our wedding, we took a small road trip. I was driving our beat-up sedan through back roads, the radio playing some old rock ballad. She was singing off-key, laughing, leaning her head out the window to feel the rush of air. We were so young, so confident that our love was bulletproof. It's ironic how certain we were that we'd always make it through anything. Maybe we were just naive. I might have been the bigger fool, or maybe she was the one who changed first. But in the end, it doesn't matter. The betrayal is real. And I can't unsee what I saw. I sink deeper into my lonely strategies. My nights grow longer, my days pass in a blur. Every evening, I add more pictures to the Wife Without a Face album. Every day, I ensure a little more damage is done to her real estate career. And I wait for something to tip over the edge. Maybe I'm waiting for her to leave me. Maybe for a final confrontation. Eventually, she asks, "Are you sure you're okay?" For the 100th time, but this time there's a tremor in her voice. She's rummaging in the closet for some boxes, probably looking for old property listings or business cards. I see her side profile, the tension in her jaw, and realize that she might be on the verge of confessing, or maybe just on the verge of an emotional meltdown. My heart clenches at the thought of her tears, but I hold steady. "You seem different," she says carefully, hugging a box to her chest. "Distracted. Did something happen at work or—" I open my mouth, then close it. If I speak, I might say too much. Anger simmers under my skin, begging to be unleashed. Instead, I just shrug. "I'm fine." Her eyes search mine. For the briefest moment, I feel a flicker of pity, or perhaps regret, in her gaze. She sets the box down and steps closer. "Rick," she hesitates. I wonder if she's about to break down and tell me everything. My pulse quickens, but she falters. Her lips form a silent apology she never says aloud, and then she walks out, the moment lost. I remain alone in the dimly lit room, the only sound the hum of the air conditioner. Days turn into weeks. My sense of time grows distorted, each day feeling stuck in the same loop of quiet tension. At work, I smile politely at colleagues, complete my tasks, attend meetings where I half listen. In my head, I'm replaying that video, hearing her soft moans. I'm remembering the day the DNA results arrive, that nauseating jolt to my gut. By evening, I'm back to the lonely routine, helping our son with homework, nodding through dinner, and withdrawing to the garage. There, I meticulously edit the photos, her birthday parties, her big real estate milestones, even a shot of her in the hospital after our son was born. That last one almost kills me to deface. She looks so proud, cradling our baby, gazing down at him as if he was the greatest gift in the world. I pick up the black marker, my hand trembling. I smear it across her face, effectively erasing her triumphant smile. My heart rips in two, but I do it anyway. I'm losing myself in this process. My father's voice returns, stern, warning me not to let anger devour me. But it's too late. It's become my lifeline. Each day I expect the final confrontation that never seems to come. I wait for her to say, "Rick, we need to talk," or "We're done." But she carries on, almost like we're both frozen, locked in a silent war. Meanwhile, my sabotage is working. Her professional life is crumbling bit by bit. She's losing money. She's losing confidence. I can see it in the slump of her shoulders. The woman who once sparkled is now drained. Then one afternoon, Jen calls me at work, her voice shaking. They canceled the last listing. They said they heard rumors I was incompetent, that deals fell through under me. I can't believe this. I can't. She stops talking, and I hear muffled sobs. The sound is disturbingly satisfying. I hate myself for feeling that satisfaction. But I do. I grip the phone, nails biting into my palm. "You'll get through it," I say, deliberately cold. She inhales sharply, as if slapped by my indifference. "Rick, what's happening to us?" she whispers. Her voice is laced with desperation. She doesn't finish. I'm sure she's choking on the guilt she refuses to name. I hang up soon after, giving her no comfort. My hand trembles with adrenaline. People around the office glance at me curiously, sensing the tension in my stance. I force a tight smile, murmur something about a stressful day, and return to my desk, my mind a storm of conflicting emotions. That evening, I come home to find her in tears on the living room couch. She's wearing jeans and an old sweatshirt, hair disheveled, eyes puffy. Our son is in his room, door closed, presumably hearing it all. She looks up when I enter. Her face is a battlefield of sorrow and confusion. For a moment, I see the woman I married, the one who leaned on my shoulder for comfort. Then I remember that video, her parted lips, that flush, the raw need in her voice for another man. "Rick," she says, her voice cracking. "Are you Do you still love me? I feel my chest tighten. I think about lying, but instead I say nothing. Silence is its own answer. She closes her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. The guilt in her expression is obvious, but she still won't confess. That's what kills me the most. I grind my teeth, wanting her to break, to just say the words. I betrayed you. I slept with him. But she clings to that last shred of denial. So I let the silence linger, my heart pounding like a war drum. She whites her cheeks. We can fix this, right? She pleads. I stare at her. Not if we can't tell the truth, I reply. My voice shakes. I stand there, wanting to shout that I know everything, that I watched it with my own eyes. I want to fling the DNA test results at her feet and see her reaction. But I can't bring myself to do it. My rage is locked behind a dam I constructed the moment I saw that video. So I turn and walk away. That night, I dream again of confrontation. But this time it's different. I see Michael and Jen together, silhouettes behind frosted glass. My father is there, shaking his head at me. My mother's voice calls from somewhere in the distance. My boy stands on the other side of the glass, not speaking, just looking disappointed. I wake up gasping for air, tears burning my eyes, but I bury my face in the pillow and force the sobs back. A man should not cry, but oh, there is pain. So much pain. The next morning, I skip breakfast, tell them I have an early meeting. I can barely look at Jen. She stares after me, something unreadable in her eyes. At work, I can't focus. By lunch, I realize I'm drowning in bitterness. If I don't let some of it out, I might implode. So I take a half day off and drive to an old park on the outskirts of town, the place where I used to go fishing with my father as a boy. It's deserted now, a lonely patch of overgrown weeds near a small pond. I stand by the water, letting the breeze rustle my hair, breathing slowly. The memory of my father teaching me to tie a fishing hook plays in my mind. I wonder if I become the kind of man he would despise or pity. I think of my son, how his life has been overshadowed by secrets. I think of Jen, once the bright star in my life, now the cause of a festering wound. I think of Michael Thompson, a man with the arrogance to take what wasn't his and show no remorse. Part of me wants to let it all go, to find a better life for myself. Another part wants to watch everything burn. But I gave my boy my word not to do anything destructive. Instead, I orchestrated this quiet sabotage. I wonder if that's any better. Eventually, I go home. Jen's car is gone, presumably out chasing the last remnants of her collapsed career. Our son is in his room, headphones on, finishing homework. I sit at the kitchen table, staring at an old family photo taped to the fridge. It's from a trip to the beach. Jen's face is beaming, the sun in her hair, our son perched on my shoulders. He was about 5 at the time. I remember that day so vividly. The taste of salt in the air, the warmth of the sand under our feet. I also remember how Jen looked at me back then, like I was the only man in the world who mattered. How naive we were. A wave of cold anger rushes through me. Before I realize what I'm doing, I yank the photo off the fridge, flip it around, and scrawl across the back with a pen. Lies. Then I hurl it into the garbage. My hands shake, and I feel dangerously close to exploding. 2 days later, I catch sight of an unfamiliar car pulling up outside. Through the window blinds, I see Michael Thompson step out. My heart almost stops. He stands there, looking up at the house, as if deciding whether to knock. Jen isn't home. She's out frantically trying to salvage a real estate listing. Our son is at a friend's place. It's just me. And him. I open the door before he can ring the bell. We stare at each other on the porch. A silent, potent moment. He's dressed in a sleek blazer, holding a portfolio under one arm. Probably some business pitch. But I see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Maybe he's realized I know. Or maybe he's here to check on her, see if I'm out of town. "Mr. Carter," he says, trying for a polite smile. I'm Michael Thompson. I finish for him, voice tight. Yeah, I know who you are. He shifts his weight, exudes an attempt at confidence, but I can sense he's on edge. Is Jen home? I stare him down. My instincts roar at me to smash his face in. My rational mind warns me to keep calm. I let the tension boil in the silence. No, I say. Another beat of silence passes. He exhales, nods, tries to play it cool. Do you mind if I wait for her? I have some urgent documents regarding a new property. I step onto the porch, closing the door behind me. Listen, I know exactly who you are, and what you've been doing. My voice trembles slightly. You get the hell off my property before I forget that I'm trying to be civilized. He looks startled. Rick, Mr. Carter, if there's something. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Don't call me Rick. You don't get to do that. He glances around, as if gauging whether the neighbors can see us. Look, I can understand. No, I snap, stepping closer, fists clenched at my sides. You can't. You have no idea what you've done. You don't know the damage you've caused. And you're not welcome here. His eyes flick down to my hands, noticing how tight they are. He swallows. Jen and I, we never meet. I let out a sharp, bitter bark of laughter, cutting him off. What did you mean to do then? Enlighten me, because all I see is my family torn apart. He opens his mouth, but no words come. We stand there, the tension electric. For a split second, I see pity in his eyes, or maybe it's fear. Either way, it disgusts me. Finally, he nods, stepping back. I'll go, he says, voice subdued. But I hope we can find a way to. Don't finish that sentence, I warn. He nods again, eyes downcast. Then he turns, walks to his car, and drives away. I stand on the porch, hands shaking, adrenaline pumping. As he disappears down the street, I realize I'm breathing hard, tears stinging my eyes. But I won't let them fall. Later that evening, Jen returns, looking drawn and weary. She goes to the bedroom without a word, slipping out of her shoes at the door. I follow her, stepping into the room where the dim lamp on her bedside table casts a tired glow. She senses my presence and turns. Her eyes meet mine, and for once, there's no veneer of excuses. The anger from my porch confrontation with Michael still burns in me. Michael was here, I say, my voice gravelly, as if dragged over sandpaper. She tenses, sets down her purse. He was here. I nod, my gaze locked on her. He wanted to see you. Talk about documents, or so he said. She closes her eyes, a faint shudder running through her. Then she surprises me. She doesn't deny it, doesn't claim ignorance. She just says, I'm sorry, in a voice so quiet I almost don't hear it. I wait for more. For an explanation, a confession, something. But she's silent. I laugh, a hollow sound that echoes in the small room. That's it. I bark. That's all you have to say after what you've done. Tears glisten in her eyes. She tries to speak, but the words die on her lips. The humiliation of being the wounded husband, the betrayed fool, flares inside me. My chest feels like it's about to rupture. You won't even give me the dignity of a confession, I whisper, stepping closer. She takes a small step back. You think I don't know. You think I'm blind. Her tears spill over. Rick, She swallows hard. I never wanted it to end up like this. It happened so fast. I got lost. Lost, I repeat bitterly, tasting the word. Did you also get lost when you changed the real estate agent? When you helped me mail out the DNA test kit? Or were those carefully chosen acts to keep me in the dark? Because I know now. That test came back. 0% paternal match. Is that how I'm repaid for 2 decades? For being the father to our son? She gasps, her face draining of color. You saw that. Oh God. She presses a trembling hand to her mouth. Rick, I didn't think it would. Would what? I snap. Reveal the truth. That he's not mine. Her eyes are wide, terrified. She steps forward, tries to grab my arm, but I jerk away. Rick, he's your son in every way that matters. Except biologically. I cut in harshly. You took that from me. You took everything. She's sobbing now, her shoulders shaking. I was young. It was a mistake. I didn't know. I let out a roar of frustration, fists clenched so tight my knuckles crack. Stop lying. My voice echoes in the small space, and for a moment, I see real fear in her eyes. I lower my voice to a ragged whisper. I gave you my entire life, Jen. I built our home. I provided. I was faithful. And you. I pause, choking on the bitterness. You've been erasing me for years. She collapses onto the edge of the bed, face in her hands, sobs rocking her body. All the withheld anger, heartbreak, humiliation floods my veins. I stand there, watching her fall apart, and I feel an ugly satisfaction. This is what I wanted. Her suffering, her awareness of the pain she inflicted. But it doesn't feel as good as I thought it would. It feels hollow. I turn to the closet, retrieve the album I've hidden there, Wife Without a Face, my final blow. I place it on the bed beside her. She sniffs, wiping her tears, and glances at it. What's this? She asks weakly. Open it. I say, my voice cold. She does. Page by page, I watch her expression shift from confusion to horror. She sees the photographs from our life. Wedding day, birthdays, vacations, but her face is blurred, scratched out, painted over. She flips through in disbelief, tears streaming down anew. Why? She chokes. Because this is what you've become, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. A faceless stranger in my memories, a void. She closes the album with shaking hands, pressing a palm over its cover. Her tears fall onto it, staining the edges. I wait for the fury, the denial, but she just bows her head in shame. Something in me cracks. I can't stand to look at her anymore. I head to the door. Where are you going? She calls after me, voice trembling. I pause. To get some air, to stop myself from doing something I'll regret. She makes a strangled sound, half sob, half plea. Rick, please. But I walk out, shutting the door gently behind me. The finality of the click echoes in the hallway. I can still hear her weeping on the other side. My heart is pounding so hard it hurts. I swallow back every emotion that claws at my throat. This is it, I think. The moment everything shatters. I step outside. The air is cool, the sky a deep indigo. For a while, I just stand there, staring at the moon, letting the night breeze calm my nerves. Eventually, I fish my phone out of my pocket, scroll through the contacts until I find my friend from out of state, an old buddy who offered me a place to crash if I ever needed. My finger hovers over the call button. A part of me wants to vanish, leave everything behind, start fresh somewhere else. But then I think of my son, alone in his room, possibly hearing bits of our argument. He doesn't deserve to lose a father. Not again. I put the phone away. One day, I might go. But not yet. First, I need to finish this, one way or another. The next morning, I wake to find the house oddly silent. My son is already off to school. Jen is in the living room, hair unkempt, eyes puffy. She clutches a mug of coffee with trembling hands, stares blankly at the wall. The album lies on the coffee table, closed. Without looking at me, she says, I'll pack up my things. I can stay at a friend's place. I don't want to upset our son any more than we already have. Her voice is stripped of strength. I stand there for a long minute, feeling a swirl of triumph and regret. This is what I wanted, isn't it? To see her broken, to make her feel the weight of her betrayal. But now that it's here, it tastes like ashes. Before I can respond, she asks, He's not home, right? No, left early. A club meeting before classes. She nods, exhaling shakily. She avoids my gaze, as though the shame is too heavy to bear. "I'm sorry," she repeats. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I am. I walk over, stand a few feet from her. I run a hand through my hair, trying to muster words that don't sound hollow. In the end, I say nothing. The house feels like a mausoleum, a monument to a life that died without any funeral. She goes to the bedroom and starts packing. I don't help. I drift around the house, lingering in doorways, remembering how it used to feel. She emerges hours later, dragging a suitcase behind her. She stops by the front door. "I'll figure out a more permanent arrangement soon," she says softly. "Just give me some time." I nod, arms folded. Rage coexists with an odd ache in my gut. When she opens the door, a cold draft slips inside. She glances at me one last time, her eyes full of regret, and then she leaves. The door shuts, and an echo reverberates through the empty hallway. I stand there, the weight of my revenge pressing on me like an anvil. She's gone. I've erased her from our album, decimated her career, forced her out of the home. Should I feel victorious? Maybe I do, in some twisted sense, but mostly, I just feel tired. In the weeks that follow, she sends me emails about splitting finances, about whether she can speak to our son, about possibly attending therapy to salvage something. I respond curtly. "Our son is free to see you. He's old enough to make his own decisions. We have no discussions about therapy. I'm done. My father always told me that once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to regain. I might be old-fashioned, but that's how I feel." Michael Thompson calls me once, probably wanting to see if I'll allow Jen near the house. I ignore it, let it go to voicemail. He doesn't try again. My son asks questions, of course. He's not a child anymore. He's aware that something huge has happened. I don't lie to him outright. I say, "Your mother and I have differences we can't reconcile." He doesn't push. Maybe he's known more than I realized. Life becomes eerily quiet. Work is the same routine, and evenings are spent in a half-empty house. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel relief. Instead, I feel this numb emptiness. One evening, I stand in the garage, flipping through the album of blurred faces. The final page is a photograph of her holding our son as a baby, now marred by thick black swirls. I linger on it, a wave of sorrow washing over me. I trace the blurred lines with my finger, remembering how I once cherished that moment. Then I snap the album shut. Maybe, I think, I'll burn it someday. But not tonight. The following week, I finalize some legal paperwork regarding the house. Jen tries to see if we can handle it amicably. I remain civil but distant, refusing to meet in person. We do everything through email, short text messages, or my lawyer. My revenge is effectively complete, though it doesn't feel the way I expected. There's no triumphant high, just a cold acceptance. My son eventually heads off to spend a weekend with friends, leaving me alone in the house. I sit in the living room, lights off, staring at my reflection in the dark television screen. My phone buzzes. A message from Jen. "I'm sorry. I hope one day you'll forgive me." I read it twice, then delete it. My father's words come back to me in a whisper. Some wrongs can't be undone. I take a slow breath and stand. I walk through the house, turn off the last light, and stand by the window. The silence stretches on, heavy but final. There is no closure, no tidy conclusion, just the knowledge that I have survived, that I have made her remember me in the only way left. Every time a door closes, every time a silence drags too long, she'll remember the life she destroyed, the man she humiliated. That's enough. Some men shout, some burn. I erase. I stare out into the night, the moonlight shining down on my empty front yard. My hands are steady now. No shaking, no tremor. If there's one thing I know, it's that I won't cry. I'm done crying inside. I'm done letting this define me. And in the quiet hush of midnight, I can almost feel a faint sense of release. It's not happiness, but it's something that might lead me there someday. I close my eyes, exhaling slowly. Everything was out of love. Once. Now it's only a memory blurred into black streaks in an album I can't bear to destroy. And that, for the moment, is enough.